My daughter chose her dad over me after divorce. Then she made a shocking move 14 years later. 14 years after choosing him, my daughter knocked on my door with a manila folder and a single line. I need you to stand with me in court. I'm Dana, 50, a home health nurse who has learned to measure crises by oxygen saturation and paperwork, not by volume. I keep other people's bodies safe and my own heart quiet. When Lily left at 14 to live with her father, Victor, the echo swallowed the apartment. I learned to live in a room the size of a voicemail. I didn't chase. I sent birthday cards, tuition reminders, a recipe for soup the winter she got strep. Everything came back returned to cinder or disappeared into the polite dark. Tonight she stood on my doormat in a raincoat that made its own weather and asked for something I've wanted every day and dreaded just as long. I don't need a mom's speech, she said. I steady. I need help. She slid out pages, tuition ledgers that didn't add up, emails with dates that argued with each other, a letter from a registrar that said, per Victor's request, next to her name. My hands did the nurse thing, still on the outside, triage inside. If I say yes, I become the villain Victor wrote for me. Unstable, vindictive, hungry for a stage. If I say no, I'm a bystander at my child's collision. Tea or water? I ask, because care starts where it can. Whatever keeps you here, she said, and the room exhaled like it had waited 14 years to breathe. On the table, the folder lay like a flare in daylight, useless until night. Tell me everything slowly, I said, and show me where the numbers bleed. Divorce is an orchestra of small lies tuned to one big solo. Victor could charm a judge into believing a calendar apologized for being inconvenient. He told Lily I was fragile, that nurses brought work home like germs, that I didn't understand ambition, that questions were accusations. I remember the hearing where he called my boundaries neglect. He wore grief like a tailored suit, and I wore truth like off the rack. The day Lily chose him, she didn't look back. Someone hugged me in the courtroom hallway, and I thought for a second it was her. It was a coat rack. I sent one last message that night. I love you in all weather. This door stays unlocked. And then the silence reigned for 14 years. I worked, I paid the bills, I learned to keep receipts that no one asked to see. When Victor's Facebook bloomed with father-daughter photos, I practiced not reading captions that made me a ghost. I kept my license up, my head down, and my lungs moving. When Lily turned 18, I wrote a letter I never mailed. When she graduated college, I mailed a card that came back with a postal apology. In home health, you learn the difference between watchful waiting and abandonment. Some bodies need rest, and some need intervention. Some relationships, too. Now Lily sat at my table measuring me like a patient deciding whether the nurse can be trusted with pain. You look tired, I said, which was accurate and insufficient. I'm done being easy for him, she said, and the sentence sounded like a person re-entering her own bones. But I don't know where to start. Start where the truth first went missing, I said, sliding her a pen. She opened the folder to a university billing portal printout, the 529 college plan Victor bragged about at holidays. My kid never worries about money. Showed a series of withdrawals labeled qualified expenses, except 2 were stamped on the same day. He posted a luxury watch and a weekend at a resort. Amounts, $4,800 and $3,200. Memo line, semester materials. The bookstore receipt she kept from that week totaled $412. Next, an email from Victor to a bursar. Please confirm account permissions remain limited to me. Lily is too overwhelmed for forms. A follow-up forward from the registrar to Lily, months later. As requested by your father, communications were withheld during your probation review. She slid over a PDF of a therapy referral her freshman year. Victor told the court I refused therapy. The intake notes show guardian declined to schedule, parent conflict. My chest did its old stutter. He said you never called, Lily said. I believe because it was easier than losing 2 parents. She tapped 2 dates that rhymed, a withdrawal and a resort check-in. Maybe coincidence, she said, and I heard the girl who learned to make peace with thunder by naming it traffic. I opened my laptop and pulled the state notary database. A sworn affidavit Victor filed in a tuition dispute had a commission stamp that didn't exist that month. Clerical error happens, I said flatly. Fraud happens louder. Lily's hands shook, then steadied. He says I'm ungrateful, she whispered. He says if I turn on family, I'll be dead to him. What if turning toward truth is the only way back to family? Victor's response to a boundary has always been a performance. First charm, then thunder. Within an hour of Lily's car leaving my lot, he texted her, "Loyalty test time. Are you with me or against us?" He CC'd me on a group chat with 2 of his siblings and a friend from church who once told me God loves cheerfulness more than documentation. Pray for Dana, Victor typed. She's unstable again. I muted my phone and opened my rainy day folder. Scans of every denial, every lost email, every return to sender with dates circled. Paper can't love you back, but it won't gaslight you either. At 9:13 p.m. A process server knocked with a cease and desist full of adjectives and a threat to pursue remedies for harassment. I made him wait while I put on shoes, because dignity likes laces. Lily texted from a parking lot 2 towns over. A selfie of her crying into a fast food napkin and a line. "I think I broke something that can't be fixed." I typed, "You didn't break it. You stopped pretending it wasn't broken." Then I called MS. Green, a retired family court mediator who still volunteers at our clinic on Thursdays, and left a message. "Documentation heavy, emotions heavier, need a procedural spine." At 10:06 p.m. Victor posted a photo of him and Lily from 5 years ago with a caption about "Forgiveness conquers bitterness," which is how control tries on hymnals. I made tea, labeled a fresh binder Lily, reunion, and wrote 3 rules on the inside cover. No secret meetings. Documents first. Come, or we pause. The doorbell rang again, and a second envelope slid under the door like a dare. Morning, I texted Lily our 3 rules again. No secret meetings, documents first, calm, or we pause, and added a 4th I'd learned in wound care. Change the dressing before infection sets in. She agreed to meet at the mediation center where Ms. Green volunteers, neutral carpet, and chairs that don't let you slouch into old roles. MS. Green arrived in a navy cardigan that made the word procedural feel like hospitality. "You can love someone and still write things down," she said, setting out yellow pads like peace treaties. Lily described the last 14 years in squares of speech. Holidays choreographed for photos, college forms signed to save time. Therapy framed as an attack on loyalty. When she finished, Ms. Green asked for the folder. She used a forensic librarian's touch, post-its on dates, arrows to amounts, asterisks where language got slippery. "No accusations yet," she said gently. "We'll let the papers quarrel first." We drafted terms for a supervised conversation with Victor. Public space, 2 witnesses, 20-minute limit, no phones on the table, originals only if he wished to show anything. I emailed the ground rules to him with MS. Green CC'd. He replied 2 minutes later, "Only if Lily comes alone," then added a smiling emoji like sugar on a threat. Ms. Green typed back, "Declined. Proposed Thursday at 6 p.m. Coffee shop on 3rd. Lily's knee bounced. "I don't want to blow this up," she whispered. "You won't," I said. "You'll stop letting it leak." My phone buzzed. Victor accepted, then added, "Bring your receipts. You'll need them." Thursday, 5:57 p.m. The coffee shop smelled like cinnamon and rehearsed sincerity. Ms. Green took a small corner table with line of sight to the door. I sat beside Lily, not between her and the world, just next to the part that shakes. Victor arrived with a smile that could get a traffic cone promoted. He placed a folder on the table like a magician's hat and said, "Let's make peace." Ms. Green clicked a pen. "We'll start with account permissions on the 529, she said. "We have withdrawals and timestamps. We need your corroborating documents." He produced photocopies that looked exactly like photocopies. No bank header, no teller ID, no nothing. I slid our printouts across. Bank statements Lily requested directly, with teller numbers and branch names. "Coincidence," he said, tapping the resort weekend line like a drummer. Ms. Green noted, "Coincidences prefer scarcity." Then I opened the notary lookup on my phone and showed the affidavit bearing a commission number that wasn't active that month. "Clerical slop," he said. "We'll confirm with the Secretary of State," Ms. Green answered. Lily's breath trembled, then leveled. "Did you sign a power of attorney for me?" she asked. "Standard emergency form," he said. "You were a freshman. Life is complicated." She slid her driver's license application from that year. The signatures on the consent line matched. Same stray loop, same naive flourish. Ms. Green underlined a date. We'll need the originating document, she said. Victor smiled like a man who keeps spares of everything and said, I'll have my attorney email it. He stood to leave and whispered, call this off or watch your mother burn again. We didn't call it off. We called a bank. Lily and I met with a branch manager at the location stamped on one withdrawal. Ms. Green joined by phone, voiced the quiet kind that makes escalators apologize. The manager pulled the internal log, teller ID, counter camera time, signature on file for account owner. That's not my signature, Lily said, pointing to a confident cursive that looked like Victor's when he wanted to look fatherly. The manager nodded. If a registered agent presented as custodian, we'd have footage, he said, and scheduled a records request by counsel. We walked 2 blocks to the registrar's office. The clerk confirmed an email flag placed by Victor had limited Lily's notifications for privacy, a setting reversible only by Lily now that she was an adult. At Ms. Green's suggestion, we requested therapy clinic intake records from freshman year. The log showed 3 no-shows noted, parent canceled, student unaware. Lily's mouth formed an O that didn't turn into sound. He said you hated therapy, she whispered. He needed you to believe I would weaponize help, I said, and it came out gentler than my bones felt. Back at the mediation center, Ms. Green rolled out the map. Challenging an affidavit. Contact the commissioning authority and request verification. If false, that's sanctionable. Prior orders based on misrepresentations can be vacated or modified. POA misuse, especially if forged, can be revoked and pursued civilly. Lily wrote it down like a study guide for a class that should never exist. Do we warn him? She asked. Ms. Green capped her pen. We file first so the truth walks in wearing shoes. Before we filed, the problem sprouted thorns. A bill from Northview Rehab arrived in Lily's inbox addressed to responsible party, L. Martin, her name, regarding Victor's partner's father. Attached, a consent form granting permission for treatment decisions, signed Lily Martin, dated during Lily's finals week. The signature looked like the one on her learner's permit from a decade ago, the loop too big, the Y too happy. Lily went white. I never even met him, she said. We called Northview. The administrator, careful as a surgeon, confirmed a power of attorney on file naming Lily, scanned, not on original letterhead. MS. Green requested the entire admission packet under right of access. The admin agreed, pending ID verification. Drained, we sat in a diner with cracked red booths and coffee that tasted like staying awake on purpose. He used my name like a multi-tool, Lily said, staring into the laminate. Not just for money, for liability. MS. Green explained medical stakes in small, swallowable sentences. If a POA is misused, Lily could be entangled in decisions and bills. If signatures are forged, that's a different kind of thunder. This isn't only about restitution, she said. It's about unwinding entanglements so future you isn't ambushed. Lily nodded. Jaw set the way mine does when I change a dressing that hurts but heals. We texted Attorney Patel, who agreed to take a quick consult tomorrow and asked us to bring originals, not copies. Victor sent one more text to Lily at midnight. Family doesn't take each other to court, enemies do. Lily put down her phone and said, then let's stop pretending we're family. Attorney Patel's office smelled like dry paper and wet courage. She listened without interrupting, then stacked our documents into a sequence that made my stomach recognize order. Bank statements with teller IDs, registrar flags, therapy no-shows, the rehab consent packet request, and the affidavit with a zombie notary commission. We'll build 3 tracks, she said. Financial, misuse of 529 funds. Authority, POA creation and misuse. Procedural, false statements that influenced prior orders. She explained vacator in words my patients would understand. If a judgment leaned on bad facts, you can ask the court to take its weight off. Warning Victor invites tampering, she added. Filing first preserves the timeline. Lily nodded, jaw tight. We recorded a short screen capture of the notary database and emailed the Secretary of State to verify the commission's activation dates. I compiled a chain of custody sheet with times we obtained each item and who handed what to whom. MS. Green proofread like a kindly hawk. Patel drafted a narrow cease-contact letter and a preservation notice to the bank and rehab center so footage and logs wouldn't accidentally cycle out. "We'll need one recorded call," Patel said, asking Victor to explain the rehab consent. "Do not accuse. Just ask him to tell his version." Lily dialed on speaker. Victor said, "Standard emergency form everyone signs," then admitted he filled in blanks later because adulting is tedious. Patel clicked stop and smiled without warmth. "Thank you," she said. "That's a sentence that carries its own boxes. We file at 9 sharp. Are you ready to be named?" Victor insisted on a family dinner before we embarrassed him in public. We went because documents are stronger when people hear themselves. His house still looked like a showroom where mess wore invisible booties. He hugged Lily too long, poured me wine I didn't drink, and toasted forgiveness like it was a product line. Between roast and dessert, he took out a crisp manila envelope. "You keep demanding originals," he said, and placed a consent form on the table, granting him permission to access Lily's accounts during college for her well-being. Ms. Green set a magnifier on the signature line. The Y loop matched Lily's learner's permit from 10 years earlier, not her adult signature sitting beside it. "Copy-paste is a marvelous invention," Victor joked too brightly. Patel, on FaceTime, said, "Who notarized?" He pointed to a stamp. I pulled the notary lookup on my phone. Commission start date, months after the signature date. Victor cut into the pie like dessert could mute chronology. Lily asked about Northview Rehab. He launched into a monologue about being there for family and kids these days not understanding duty. MS. Green slid a small card across the table. "Meeting details for tomorrow's live verification at the bank and registrar. Witnesses present. Originals required." "It's theater," Victor scoffed. "No," I said evenly. "It's housekeeping." Lily picked up the pen and said, "Sign here acknowledging you'll bring originals tomorrow." The bank conference room had the neutral dignity of a courtroom's quieter cousin. A branch manager, Ms. Gomez, greeted us with a records custodian and a printout of policy. Patel set her recorder on the table. Ms. Green sat where everyone could see her pen move. "We're verifying 3 withdrawals," Gomez said. She projected the counter camera stills. Victor at the teller, no Lily, a withdrawal slip with his handwriting. Signature on the custodial line matched the confident cursive we'd already clocked. "Our custodial policy requires beneficiary presence for permission changes," Gomez said. "I see none." She issued a letter on letterhead, stamped, signed. We walked 2 blocks to the registrar. The clerk removed the communications block Victor had set and printed the audit trail, showing who requested it and when. "We'll append this to your petition," Patel said. Then Northview's admin arrived with the admission packet. The PO, and naming Lily was a scan with a flattened, pixelated seal. The consent dates overlapped Lily's finals. Patel asked, "Any original wedding signatures?" The admin shook her head and handed over a certification of records. Victor bristled, tried to pull the packet, and muttered about witch hunts. Security drifted our way like polite weather. Patel summarized for the room. "We have unauthorized withdrawals, a compromised POA, and notary inconsistencies." Victor laughed, but the sound didn't land where he meant it. Security stepped closer as Victor reached for the evidence and missed. Patel filed the petition that afternoon with exhibits labeled like guideposts. In court the next week, a judge with winter in her hair and summer in her tone asked patient, deadly questions. Patel walked through the bank's letter, the registrar audit, the Northview packet, and the Secretary of State's reply confirming the notary commission dates. Victor tried charm first, smiled at the judge like she might autograph his story, then pivoted to grievance when it didn't sell. "This is a domestic misunderstanding," he said. The judge tapped her pen. "Domestic misunderstandings do not usually forge signatures or misstate commissions." Lily's hands didn't shake. She spoke like a person learning to breathe without permission, clear, measured, with dates that sat still. Ms. Green supplied procedural context like a metronome. The judge granted interim relief, froze the 529 account, suspended any POA authority claimed over Lily, ordered Northview to correct designations, and scheduled a hearing on the affidavit's validity. Victor pivoted to the aisle where I live. "Blame. This is Dana's vendetta," he said. "She poisoned Lily." I met his eyes and didn't nod, didn't flinch, My job is to hold a vein still so medicine goes where it should. The judge looked at him the way a lighthouse looks at fog. Victor laughed too loud until his hands started shaking like receipts. Fallout has a schedule. First the phone, then the feed, then the doorstep. Victor's circle posted parables about bitter exes and ungrateful children. My agency got a flurry of anonymous emails claiming I steal meds and snoop in charts. I walked into HR with Patel's card and a stack of character letters patients had written me over the years. The director said, "Take tomorrow off and bring cookies to the nurse's station when you come back." Lily's inbox filled with cousins asking if she was really doing this to your dad. She answered once, "I'm doing this for myself." MS. Green taught us to document harassment lightly but consistently. Patel forwarded threats to the court. The judge extended interim orders, appointed a special master to inventory the 529, and set a short date for the notary issue. Northview corrected its records, removing Lily as responsible party and sending a letter of apology that read like a manual for how not to get sued. At night, I lay awake narrating the day to my ceiling. Dates, amounts, who said what. In the morning, Lily texted a photo of the sunrise from her bus stop. I used to think dawn was something that happened to other people. A deputy rang with a court date sooner than anyone expected. We spent the days before the hearing building a life, not a case. Therapy on Tuesdays, joint at first, then individual, where Lily practiced telling the truth with her shoulders relaxed and I practiced hearing it without adding captions. Patel drafted revocation and reassignment paperwork. Lily executed a fresh healthcare proxy and financial poem and naming no one for now, with instructions written in plain English. We opened a new account for her with two-factor authentication and no parental convenience. Ms. Green helped us script responses to relatives. 3 sentences, no barbs, an invitation to discuss after the hearing. We returned a few gifts to make money flow visible again. Victor's lawyer floated a family resolution that required silence and no admissions. Patel called it a decorative rug meant to hide a bulge. At the hearing, the judge found the affidavit unreliable and referred the notary issue for investigation. She ordered restitution discovery for the 529 and admonished Victor for weaponizing access. Afterward, in the courthouse hallway that smells like coffee and relief, Lily hugged me the way toddlers do when they forget to be careful with joy. "Can I crash at your place?" she asked. "Just tonight. I don't want to hear his keys." Then Lily asked to stay the night, without fear of tomorrow. Morning smelled like pancakes and a life that could be boring in the best way. Lily opened my junk drawer and laughed at the labeled baggies, batteries, warranty cards, the spare keys to a future. We wrote 2 lists. What ends now, secret meetings, emergency signatures, letting fear decide. And what begins, transparency, bi-weekly check-ins, saving screenshots without saving shame. I taped a photo to the fridge, us on the stoop, hair messy, eyes clear. Here's what I learned and will hand to anyone standing where we stood. Parental alienation doesn't always look like snarling. Sometimes it sounds like efficiency. Keep dates. Ask offices, not relatives. Verify notaries. Read every line that says convenience. Vacator isn't vengeance. It's a reset when a judgment borrowed a lie. Restitution isn't revenge. It's math with dignity. And love, real love, doesn't demand you ignore your own records. If you're an older viewer who thinks the past is settled because the kids grew up, remember grown children still need safety, not just stories. Start a folder. Write rules on the inside cover. Make tea. Ask them to speak slowly and show you where the numbers bleed. When they do, believe them enough to stand up in public and sit down afterward together. Next time the door knocks, I'll open it without rehearsing apologies.